Join us on Now We Consume. Take in the knowledge, take in the laughs, indulge in the topics with us. The Now We Consume podcast will take you through the parts of your day you normally dread. Why suffer through the existential crisis of life alone when you can do it with us? And now we consume.
This is not meant to be a conspiracy episode or podcast, but we may cover some topics that dance that line like a toddler dances on their mother's last nerve. This podcast is rated I, for immature audiences only.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Welcome back to Now We Consume podcast.
God.
Great to have you all back. Really appreciate hearing y'all and seeing y'all again. As you can tell by the intro, we're going to have a fun topic today. The topic today is about the government really is lying to you. Now,
If we ever had any doubt.
I know. We've been kind of harping on the, not the anti-government stuff, but we've definitely been kind of highlighting a lot of the problems and issues inherently when it comes to having just humongous governments with millions of people working for them and so many different, I guess, interests going on. There's a lot that happens with the U.S. government, particularly a lot that happens that people don't really know about or are only hear in passing. There are things that maybe some people think about, oh, there's conspiracies and other stuff. Unfortunately, though, as we've learned over the years, with many conspiracies, all it takes is a little bit of time to prove it. They had a lot of merit to them. I'm not going to say they're always 100% right, but boy, is it scary how much of it that can be proven true.
Oh, yeah.
So, that being said, we have several, I think it's probably a list of topics. I think it's probably the more apropos example to have here of topics for us to get into today. Starting with, I know one of your probably personal favorites.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we had a nice little break. We were taking some time to enjoy the holidays. I know you were dealing with some technical issues.
My computer decided how does seppuku feel, and it enjoyed it, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. So I just want to say welcome back to everybody. I got to spend some time with my kids. And as a parent, I hope that some people can relate. You can only listen to your hump dumplings say that they're bored so many times after Christmas before you start to begin questioning yourself as a parent and where you went wrong.
I'm sorry, did you refer to your children as hump dumplings? Did I hear that right?
It's better than the other phrase I've used.
You're not wrong, but I still don't like it. Oh my God, the imagery. Ugh. I don't like it.
No, it's great spending time with the boys, but when they get a bunch of cool new shit for Christmas and then within a day or two they're like, Dad, I'm bored. I can make you not bored. You're not going to like it.
I'm sure there's plenty of work to be done around the house.
Oh yeah. But no, we have a lot of subjects that we're going to cover tonight. And the big one, it's probably the first one that gets talked about on any podcast that covers any kind of government-involved shenanigans. We are, of course, talking about the infamous MK Ultra program. Anyone who has any fascination with the workings of government programs and government involvement, shall we say, in the workings of society knows what MK Ultra is, what it was, and what they did. The absolute brief top-level synopsis. The CIA experimented on humans. We assume just humans, though. Most of the time without their knowledge or consent. They experimented with mind control, chemical interrogation techniques, using drugs like LSD. They used hypnosis, they used sensory deprivation, and various forms of psychological torture to see if they could manipulate people into basically becoming sleeper agents like the Manchurian Candidate, if you remember that movie. Bucky from the Marvel movies. That's a great way to associate a sleeper agent. And this experiment was running for upwards of 20 some odd years, from the 1950s through the 1970s. It was covered up quite well, and it was not disclosed until, the 90s?
Yes, the mid to late 90s, it was confirmed.
Yeah.
Now, something for everyone at home to keep in mind, we're discussing stuff that we have verifiable proof that's been released, that are documents. This is not like a tinfoil hat episode. Trust me, we're going to get to those.
Yeah,
but
I'm,
we want
I'm
to talk
not
about
wearing
specifically
the tinfoil hat tonight.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet.
We'll get there.
I already have mine prepped in a few weeks,
Mhm.
but I'm still bedazzling it and everything. I want to decorate it.
Bedazzled.
Yay! But hey, if you're going to be a conspiracy theorist, why not be a little fancy?
I want to bedazzle
But
my
anyway.
nutsack.
I'm going to ignore that one. So but the point is, we're talking about stuff that is confirmed, that has been released to the public. This is actually the least conspiracy level one that we'll be talking about tonight. And what is absolutely insane is it went on for over 20 years, and they've never confirmed that they shut it down.
That's probably the worst part, is that it never had a confirmed stop date.
No, they said that they released it from the 50s to the 70s in terms of what has been confirmed that did happen. There have been and I've looked this up. There are no documents out there confirming that MK Ultra was ever either shut down or stopped.
Right.
Which makes you wonder. And again, I'm not saying everything is like that, but with all the weird stuff that's happened in this country over the past 3 or 4 decades, the unexplainable stuff, the violence that
I
happens
thought
that
you
no
were
one
going to
can
say the
explain.
past 3 or 4 months.
No, well, I mean, obviously, yes, but one of them, I think that the Cybertruck thing with the bombing thing, that's going to be a separate topic with all the stuff that's coming out about it.
Yeah.
But I guess the point I'm getting at is with all the unexplained things that have happened, particularly when, weirdly enough, the FBI and the CIA suddenly get involved and just shut down all information and everything, and they don't let anything out. Boy, does it sound like, not every time, not even all the time or most of the time, but there have been a few episodes where I think it was MK Ultra gone wrong.
Yeah.
Where something happened where, oh crap, this happened and it wasn't supposed to, and we got to cover our tracks, got to cover our butts.
You mentioned the alphabet agencies getting involved. I just kind of had a little flashback to that incident down in Florida where all the people were running out of the mall and there were power outages. Cell phone videos kept getting deleted from the internet, and it was like a total information blackout. And the few things that did come out, it was all kind of similar. They kept having reports of like tall creatures of some kind. That it was sounding like aliens or something, but there was never anything confirmed other than power outage. And it's like, okay, power outages don't make people panic the way that you saw in those videos that did come out.
No.
What were they afraid of? And to this day, I don't know that I've ever seen anything that 100% confirmed, oh, yeah, it was this.
No one can. And what's weird is if you look at the police trackers that night, look at scans and whatnot that were saved, nothing makes sense.
No.
There's people reporting like 90 different things. The only underlying thing that is confirmed that we know is that there was an event that happened and the power went out, and that place was swarmed by not only officers, but different alphabet agencies in a matter of minutes, and completely swarmed. Honestly, I would have thought like a mass tragedy would have happened.
Right.
Like there was less of a reaction to the shooting in Vegas than there was to that mall incident.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So whatever the hell happened, it was very serious.
Yeah. And
which, by the way,
it just
I do want
disappeared.
to. Oh yeah, without a trace, you can't find anything.
But-
By the way, I do want to point out we will do an episode on the Vegas shooting because
Oh,
I have a
yes.
lot of information about that.
oh, yeah.
I just want a teaser on that one because I'm going to let the TISM show on that one. I have to. There's so much of that bothers me.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the reason I wanted to bring that up was because you had a situation where a guy was shooting down into a crowd, a large crowd, causing
Allegedly.
yes, I know. I'm gonna assume everything's correct just for the sake of the argument, but you're
Okay.
not wrong. There were hundreds of injuries,
Right.
so many people negatively affected, and yet the police didn't respond nearly as quickly to that as they did to that mall situation
Yeah.
in Florida. That is what scares me. Whatever the hell happened, it must have been something far more serious
Yeah.
than a guy unloading onto a large crowd.
Right.
So what the hell happened?
Yeah.
I've tried to look for it. You've tried to look for it. I can't find anything.
Yeah, and teenagers fighting, fireworks, a bomb threat. I mean, those are the only things that you can find that are like air quote confirmed, and that's barely confirmed.
And even then, even if all those things did happen,
The police response did not warrant that.
no. I mean, think about this: the Tesla truck that went off on one of a Trump's locations,
Mhm.
that didn't even require the same level of police response.
No.
Like, which is insane. So, whatever happened, I don't know if we'll ever know. I'm hoping somebody does a FOIA request and we eventually get some information. But
It'll be 30 years before we're ever privy to that.
yeah, and by that time, aliens will have already conquered this planet anyway. So,
Yeah,
with
so it
the way
won't
things are
matter.
going. Yeah,
But speaking of not aliens, the next item on our list, and I do want to kind of move this along because this is going to turn into a 3-hour episode if we don't. The infamous, and I do say infamous, Tuskegee syphilis experiments that were carried out for an insanely long time, 1932 to 1972. 40 years. And this was bad because hundreds and probably more than hundreds.
it's more than that.
Yeah, had to have
This
been,
is what's reported.
it was reported that hundreds, but likely thousands, if not tens of thousands, of African American men were injected with syphilis to be studied by the U.S. Public Health Service. They were deliberately withheld treatment, even after penicillin became the standard treatment. And it was the whole purpose of the experiment was aimed to observe the natural progression of the disease. And they chose airmen who were serving in World War II, fighting for our country. They just happened to be carriers of a little extra melanin. And I mean, I know that the airmen weren't the only ones. It was the Tuskegee area. Without looking it up, I do not know the state. I want to say like Mississippi or Alabama.
It was Alabama, I believe.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that not only that, no matter what position you're in this government, in this country, you're not safe.
Oh, yeah, no.
They can target you at any time. They will use any justification to target you. And there were civilians as well. It wasn't just the airmen and people that were working for the military. There were civilians that were targeted. And the problem is none of this was ever made public until I believe about the 70s or the 80s. But it was well after the civil rights movement and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And they targeted them specifically because they knew they weren't going to go to the media. They weren't going to do anything. There really wasn't anywhere for them to go. And if something happened, no one was going to care because this was pre-civil rights movement.
Yeah.
This is arguably one of the worst things the U.S. government has ever done. And this will segue into a topic later on, but I am surprised that anybody ever trusts the government when it comes to medicine.
Oh,
Because that is one of the most egregious things done medically to citizens of almost any country, let alone American,
and
that I've ever heard of.
And keep in mind, they didn't just target the men in this case. They were following and studying the women that they were involved with too, and the kids that they ended up having. So, and the women didn't have any part of this because they were just the innocent bystanders.
But that entire town,
Yeah,
became involved in it.
It's
And
horrible.
What's insane were the amount of people with medical complications, issues, the people that died.
Oh yeah.
It became so out of control. But unfortunately, and this can be a common theme of tonight, when you let scientists do whatever they want and justify it with their own, they push ethics aside to justify what they want. Bad things happen every single time.
Well, it's just like what the Germans did.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of Germans, we now have Operation Paperclip. Nice segue. Operation Paperclip was run from 1945 to 1957. It was a secret U.S. intelligence program that took place after World War II was over. The primary goal being to bring German scientists, engineers, and technicians from Nazi Germany over to the United States for exploitation of their knowledge and expertise. Literally the reason we went to space. We can thank the remnants of Nazi Germany for the fact that there are boot prints on the moon. And by the way, yes, there are boot prints on the moon.
Well, yes. If people are still, that's one of those conspiracies I'll never understand, the people that deny that we went to the moon. Come on.
So, okay.
We did go there.
If you want to take like a 2-minute segue, I can completely understand why there is that conspiracy. I can totally see the justification. It was done to try to bankrupt the Soviet Union because we didn't have the technology, supposedly. And even to this day, when there are interviews that happen, people slip up and say things like, yeah, we don't have the technology to go to the moon, or the technology doesn't exist anymore, and all this other shit. And it's like, well, we did it once, right? And then you've got like Buzz Aldrin, who's gone out several times, and I don't know if that dude's just off his cracker or what, but the stuff that he has alleged, but
well, you also have to realize that the American government is the king of misinformation and misdirection. So what I wouldn't be surprised for is, yes, we did go to the moon, but the motivation why might be completely different to anything any of us ever know.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, because obviously, yes, we did go to the moon.
Yeah.
But the justification as to why, I think, far is outweighed.
Yeah.
And misrepresented.
Yeah.
Because clearly, when you study like America, so like it's gonna be like a 1 minute segue, but trust me on this one. We were scared of the Russians up until we started looking at their jets and their fighters, and we kept assuming their engineering level was equal to ours until we'd actually take a look at them. We'd say, wow, this is incredibly inferior. Wow, they made something that looked a lot better. It was always the time where we would look and say, they might have a couple of good advancements, but the package as a whole was never as good as Western technology. When it came to either tanks or aircraft, yes, there were some outliers, but I'm talking in generality as a whole, especially when it came to production quality and quality assurance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when it came to going to the moon, we knew we'd be able to beat them there.
Yeah.
It's the question of, at the time, we might have genuinely thought, oh crap, the Russians have taken just as many German scientists as we have, because we had to split them up when we split up Berlin.
Ours were better.
Well, clearly, we got the better ones. We somehow won that draft pretty well. Yeah, we got the first, second, third, and fourth pick in that draft. But I guess the point is, at the time, I understand the justification, but the reality of it is Russia was never a threat at beating us to the moon. But it's possible at the time we had our intel wrong. Right. And there might be reasons that we went to the moon that we'll never know. But with Operation Paperclip, one of the things that happened that Americans were never really told was that the German officers were also pardoned from any of their previous crimes. And there were several that designed things like gas chambers, or designed things like many of the work camps, Auschwitz, places like that, to where their entire job was to design the suffering of humanity.
Yeah, the literal worst parts of World War II that we have learned about, these men engineered that.
And they were pardoned for the sake of getting their intellectual ideas to be able to get their knowledge and information. And for some, look, if you just design jet fighters, I understand that. Hey, whatever, we need the technology. But there were so many that were never held accountable. It is not only embarrassing, but it is such a disgrace, especially when we ended up paying them a ton of money, let them go wherever. And there were some that just escaped down to Brazil or down to South America. Was it Argentina as well?
Argentina, yeah.
Yeah. So
supposedly the big man himself got away down there.
I don't know about that one.
There's some shit, dude.
Maybe that'll be another episode.
We might have to talk about that one.
That'd be cool, because that's something I know nothing about, other than I just kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of hard to hide if you're Hitler.
I don't know. I mean,
I would think even in 1946, people would kind of recognize you.
Well, you shave the mustache and you get rid of the hair. I mean,
yeah, but it's kind of weird. Whenever he makes a right turn, he sticks his right hand at a 45-degree angle. I don't know why. I just maybe it's to counterbalance the weight. I don't know.
Yeah, we might do an episode on that. We'll figure it out.
But I guess you make the point because like there's always those Superman episodes where like he puts on a pair of glasses and changes his shirt and nobody recognized him, and then Henry Cavill literally did it.
Yeah.
And nobody recognized him. So who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did survive.
Yeah,
But no, with Operation Paperclip, they lied outright to American citizens at the time. We all know this is fact now, but people did not realize the war criminals that they pardoned to get this knowledge and information. And unfortunately, it caused a lot of issues down the road.
Yeah. I mean, these guys were allowed to live normal, fulfilling lives here in America.
Actually, they got to live as many of them as the rich and wealthy. Not like billionaire status.
No,
but,
they were paid
they got cushy
a
jobs.
not insubstantial amount of money to do their jobs at NASA for NASA in accordance with, terms of their pardon.
Oh yeah, especially if you were part of the V1 or V2 rocket program, that was where a lot of the money went to. Because that's where we stole a ton of technology from the Germans. And that was really the big gamble that America took, was like, hey, we want all their aeronautics engineers. Because as soon as we saw the ME-262, those Messerschmitts in the air, those jet fighters that made all of our stuff look past tense, it was like, oh crap, we got to get that. And we couldn't figure it out. We tried during 1944 and 45, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
They just had it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, World War II is just one of those things that it'll always hold appeal to learn about.
Well, it's an endless rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's the thing with World War II.
It was such a
you
huge
could
turning point in like technology and warfare and strategy and intelligence and everything.
It's really the last war where all the countries that were fighting in it were truly separate. Because after that point, the transmission of information and technology became so widespread that a lot of countries utilize the same technology and information, whereas during World War II and before then, everything was kind of homemade, homegrown, design, built, whereas that's no longer the case.
Yeah.
So it makes it interesting. There's always something new to learn.
Yeah. And I mean, wars after that were fought very much differently. Take Vietnam, for example. We can segue into our next one. The My Lai Massacre happened in 1968, right during the middle of the Vietnam War. U.S. soldiers killed hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians, including women and children, and the elderly. The event was initially covered up by the Army, but investigative journalism eventually brought it to light, sparking widespread outrage. This massacre was supposed to be used as a false flag operation to
Really?
try to bring an end to the war by means of atomic means.
Wait, really? Are you serious? I didn't know that.
They wanted to use this as a false flag to try to instigate tensions to flare up so that they could get the excuse to use nukes. They didn't want to drop the big bombs. They wanted to use the lower end nuclear artillery.
Jesus, I never knew that, actually. That's insane.
Yeah.
I know America is kind of the king of the false flag operation.
Yeah.
I knew the massacre happened, but I did not know that was the motivation.
That was the motivation. Look up the nuclear bazooka.
Yes, I know about that.
Yeah, that was what they wanted to use so that they could try to end the war.
Yeah, but call me crazy, but the liability of firing a nuclear bazooka, when you're like 4 or 5 degrees of aiming off between like hitting the enemy or killing yourself in the worst way possible. Like if you just aim it slightly off, I mean, or God forbid, like a tree branch falls or something happens.
It's that or Agent Orange. Take your pick.
God, both options suck. Well, maybe we are the bad guys. I don't know. Maybe God, because Agent Orange definitely made us the bad guys on that one.
Oh yeah, you ain't kidding.
Good Lord. A false flag with that though? That's wild.
Yeah, it
Because
was.
I've heard about that. Now, didn't they take some photos and stuff like that of the massacre? And they
Oh yeah. Once that got out, it was not good for us.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm just taking that all in because like that.
Oh, dude, Vietnam itself was horrible. I will always be of the opinion we should have never been there.
Well, of course.
Support, sure. Supplies, absolutely. Manpower, no.
No, it's always the problem of we handled that war and really Korea. Both of those we handled incorrectly. But really Vietnam.
Yeah.
That was such a piss poor showing. But unfortunately, looking back at it, it seemed almost like we didn't really take it as seriously as we could have.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really just go and be like, all right, we're stopping this. We're putting our boot down. And no. Kept dragging it out. Kept not really putting the effort into it that it should have.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
no way.
Before that massacre, you've got the infamous Gulf of Tonkin incident, which that really kind of set off the Vietnam War.
Absolutely.
Which, again, false flag.
We're good at that.
Just a little.
Woo, number one, baby.
So the Gulf of Tonkin incident, 1964, involved alleged attacks on U.S. Navy ships by North Vietnamese forces. It was used as justification for escalating U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War at that time. Later investigations revealed that the official account of the incident was distorted and that some of the alleged attacks may not have actually occurred. I was watching a video on this. There were some torpedo boats that had engaged Navy. I'm not sure if they were fighter, like PT type boats, or if they were like actual destroyers. The only damage that occurred to the naval ships, the U.S. naval ships, one ship had a singular bullet hole in the side. The torpedo boats for the Vietnamese forces were obliterated.
I don't know, man. That one bullet hole, they should know not to mess with our boats.
Don't touch our
We
boats.
take that seriously. As a country, we take that really seriously. You mess with our boats, we drop the sun on you.
We do take our boats pretty serious, yes. You know,
We're a little bit on the spectrum with that one.
Japan touched a few of our boats and they saw the second sun. So
you are Sheldon and you just took our spot. Like we don't allow that.
Yeah. No.
Thank God they didn't overreact though. You know,
yeah.
One bullet hole versus, completely mowing down the enemy's boats.
I mean,
what's a little negligent discharge, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's fine.
That's assuming, mind you, the bullet hole came from them.
Correct.
Because wouldn't that have been a funny conversation with the captain where they say, "Oh, they're firing on us." They completely decimate the enemy boats. One just pulls out their 1911, just puts a hole in the side of the boat. They fired on us, sir. Oh, gotta fix that.
Oh, geez.
But no, that was the official narrative of that. Oh yeah, the U.S. was attacked. We have to defend ourselves. We have to defend our allies. And no. We were never formally attacked. All BS. Just like what happened in Pearl Harbor. We knew that was going to happen. We planned it. We knew.
Yeah. Pearl Harbor was, I'm still kind of on the fence about. I'm sort of the opinion that it was just terribly mismanaged and mishandled.
I can tell you exactly what happened.
Okay, fire.
I 100%.
Fire when
so
ready.
We knew days before they were attempting that. We had several older ships that were planned to be decommissioned anyway. And in the House and Congress, they were fighting for a budget. Because remember, at the end of the year, you have budget resolutions that happen.
Mm-hmm.
That still happened even back in the 30s and 40s. So they were looking for a budget to be able to replace the ships because they saw what was happening in Europe. Well, we weren't in the war. We weren't really involved at this time. We weren't planning to do anything. Well, as soon as they saw that coming, the U.S. military leaders said, hey, if we let them attack us, we get our carriers out of the way because our carriers and our biggest battleships were removed out of Pearl Harbor just days before, if not maybe the day before, a couple of days before. So we didn't lose anything that was critical. All the ships that were sunk were considered non-critical to the Navy, which is insane because what that means is they said, screw anybody that dies here. It's justified to get us into the war. That way we look like we're on the defense, we're attacking, because they were polls done and people in the U.S. were asked if they would join the war, and most Americans said no. They did not, especially, mind you, most of the Americans just went through a war 20 years before with World War One. And they said, oh, hell no. Most parents that survived, most of the guys that survived World War One, they don't want their kids in World War Two.
Right.
If you want to get a good reaction what the sentiment was like at the time,
Just attack
watch
us.
the first, well, one of the best examples I could see is watch the first 30 to 45 minutes of the movie Hacksaw Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
How the father reacts. Mind you, I have a couple of friends. You actually know one of the people that have met Desmond Dawes as well. We could talk about that off air. But how they described how Desmond Dawes' father reacts to his son signing up to go into World War II after he had been through World War One clearly shows that most Americans, it really much parallels the sentiment. Most Americans were not for getting into World War II until we were attacked.
Right. Well, it's just just like 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I wonder where we learned that playbook.
Yeah.
We did it in Pearl Harbor. It said, wow, it'll work. Gulf of Tonkin. Wow, it'll work. 9/11.
Yeah. 9/11, everybody was pissed. 9/12, they got real angry.
So it's one of those things where the false flag operations that the U.S. have done have been nothing new. But they lied about Gulf of Tonkin to get us into the war, and then after it was found out after the war, I don't know if it was after the war or during the war. I'm pretty sure it was after the war.
It was after.
That they found out. And a lot of people were bull about it.
Mm-hmm.
They were pissed.
Yeah.
Granted, I wasn't alive during that era, so I don't know, but I watched Walter Cronkite and a few other of the trusted journalists at the time talk about it. And boy, people were not happy with that one.
Yeah, no, because that showed that the entire, all of the involvement that the U.S. had in Vietnam could have been avoided. All the deaths, all the PTSD, all the suffering, all the injuries, all the bullshit could have been avoided.
Yeah. But, our sweet contractors got to make some money.
Well,
we got to make that military money, though.
Yeah.
Lockheed Martin wants their next contract.
Yeah, the industrial, the
military industrial
complex. Thank you. Words are hard tonight.
It seems like they're hard every night we do a podcast for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We turn on the cameras and we're like, duh.
So glad
I've never talked before.
Especially from
I've
earlier.
never heard of. Hey, listen, just because I walked in, you were playing with your nipples doesn't mean anything was weird, okay?
At least that's all you saw. So the next
That's all
one,
I wanted to see.
So the next one, let me move this up to
chronological,
because it sounds like tism. The infamous Watergate scandal from 1972 to 1974. That's where President Nixon insisted he was not a crook. The major political scandal involving President Nixon's administration and their attempts to cover up its involvement in a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate Hotel later led to President Nixon's resignation. That whole ordeal showed that even the presidency is not immune to the shenanigans of all that bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Politics follows even the president. And unfortunately, shady politics follows even the president as well.
Yeah, as we've seen.
Well, yeah. After the last few presidents, absolutely.
I'll pardon him anyways.
Oh, we all knew Hunter. We all know who's going to get pardoned anyway. What? And by the way, I got to put this out in the podcast when it comes to political stuff. The fact that Biden just gave Hillary Clinton the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I don't know about you guys, but that to me is insane.
Insulting is what it is.
Yeah, tell the people of Benghazi about that one. Tell them she deserves that.
Uh-huh.
But Watergate was one of the first times, besides what happened with a couple of previous presidents, like what happened with Taft and McKinley. Besides that, Nixon really was one of the first times to prove that I guess you could say the BS of the political mob had so much power and control that even the president couldn't get away from it.
Yeah.
Even he got absorbed into it. And this is one of the first times in American history where not only was it so blatant and obvious, but everybody completely wanted him out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's support is like, no, this guy's gone. If you even look at polls from back then, you talk about like 80, 90% of people were like, yeah, he's out. He's done.
Yeah.
Which I think that's probably the most Americans have ever agreed on anything.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But I guess that's a, how should I say, a preview for futures to come, because after him, it seems like every president's involved with some BS.
Everything has kind of gone downhill since he left office.
Could you say he's the political Harambe?
More or less, yeah. And I'm sorry, I have to circle back to this. The fact that Biden pardoned a bunch of people who have not done anything yet chaps my taint so bad. I can't even get into it. They are pardoned without having been accused of a crime. Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
And yet half of them just got the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Yes.
Gibbs? I understand why there are hate crimes.
That is your personal opinion, not the opinion of this podcast. That is your opinion personally. And I am not going to be involved with that one for legal reasons.
I think he had to give Hillary the pardon just in case some of her body count started to show up in the Potomac. Because, my God, man.
I know it enrages me too.
I can feel my pulse. Oh my God, my blood pressure is going up.
Well, but you know what's crazy? I was reading a statistic about that.
About my
Biden
blood
has been
pressure?
pardoning. Well, no. Well, if it keeps going up, you might be a statistic. But he's been pardoning hundreds of people, and he's still not out yet. I cannot wait until the 20th to be able to look at the official figures, see how many people he's actually pardoned.
And see
'Cause
how
he
many
also
happened
took-
in like the last 30 days.
Well, the dude also took 563 vacation days in the 4 years he was there.
Mm-hmm.
An average of 114 days a year. Basically, he was out to Bernie or weekend at Bernie's for about a third of every year. So, what a surprise!
Yeah, well,
You know,
when you're incapacitated half the time, those are all sick days, so.
Mind you, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Neither one of us support either political party totally. We both dislike each political party, but come on, with what we've seen over the last 4 years, come on, say what you want, but it's been insane. It's been insane having a corpse run in the country.
My dog could have done a better job.
You know what though? At least people would like your dog.
Very true.
Although it'd be really weird to have the president licking people's ears, though. I will.
The president already snitched children, so not too
you
far
got me on
off.
that one. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh, just add a little bit of tongue. We'll start calling him Carly. Jesus. Oh my god. For those people that don't know, his dog decided to violate my ear last time I was over there. And it was not consensual. I was not okay with it, but
She
it's a
woke
dog.
your ass
So,
up like that.
oh my god. The cleanest ear this side of the Mississippi, let me tell you. Oh, Jesus.
She went deep.
I did not appreciate it.
Oh.
And by the way, this one didn't even warn me. He said nothing. You are just as guilty. Yeah, that's right. Laugh. Uh-huh. Yeah. I hope you can't breathe. You laugh so hard. Jerk.
Oh God. Oh, shit.
man.
Oh.
Anyways.
All right, where were we?
So this one the next one you have posted, I actually know nothing about it.
Yeah, so the Iran-Contra affair, that took place during 85 and 87. I was finally alive during this one. Several high-ranking officials during the Reagan administration secretly facilitated the sale of arms to Iran, which was under an arms embargo at the time, in exchange for the release of American hostages. The funds from that arms sale were then illegally used to support the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. This was a shitstorm because those arms ended up being used against some of our guys later down the line. A lot of stuff got sold to Russia, got sold to Syria, got sold to, oh God, pick a country in that region.
So wait a minute. So what I'm hearing is we didn't learn from the Iran-Contra affair. We didn't learn from Fast and Furious. We didn't learn from selling more weapons to Al-Qaeda.
Fast and Furious was kind of blueprinted off of Iran-Contra.
They didn't learn?
No, they did learn. That's how they got it pulled off.
But at both times it's failed.
Fast and Furious was intended to fail, though.
But Americans still died from those weapons.
That was the purpose of Fast and Furious.
That's a terrible government if your goal is to kill American citizens. God, we're really good at this. You know what? American governments never want to kill its own civilians. Jesus.
No, not really.
Well, sorry. China still wins that one. Sorry. China still wins that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Western countries.
Yeah.
You're right. But that's insane. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, that was just to try to get guns banned. That was literally an operation to get firearms of those types banned and taken off the market.
So all those countries that have had illegal firearms where those cartels have been running them, particularly in places like Mexico and Colombia and Panama, were because we have done this not once, not twice, but like 3 times now.
5.
You're joking.
No, 5 that I know of.
How stupid is our fucking government? I'm sorry.
Did you just say those words in sequence?
Yes. I would have thought at least after like the 3rd time, they would just not do that.
Mm-mm.
That's insane.
Yeah, no. Some people really want those scary black rifles banned and removed from the market. So what's the best way to do that? Make sure they're used in bad ways.
But that's not going to change anything. People are just going to die for no reason.
That's how you affect change in their minds.
In their minds, that's not how it works.
No, but in their minds. These are delusional people, Gibbs.
I know, and that's my problem.
These are the people that think if you just have the correct feelings and pronouns about a situation, everything works out.
But you had to go there. That's like who was it that Feinstein? Feinstein from California. She once said, and I quote, "Well, if somebody comes in to rob your house and you put down your gun, they'll feel sympathetic to put down theirs as well." Right. I'm paraphrasing.
Ask him how they feel about putting down the hammer.
Yeah, no shit. Well, it boggles my mind. I guess it's because, and someone that's like on the younger side, we weren't taught this entire list of things that we're talking about. We were never taught this in high school. This was stuff that I had learned or done or spoke about afterwards and done some digging. I wonder how many people would be able to put the dots together and be like, hey, maybe whenever the government tries to like give weapons to other countries, particularly like gangs or regimes, maybe you just shouldn't. Maybe let's just not.
Keep the firearms within our borders.
What was it, Biden that gave like $95 billion worth of stuff to Iran when we pulled out, or Iraq? I forget which one, Afghanistan, one of those.
Yeah, so he essentially ordered the immediate withdrawal, and all of the gear was over there. Some of it was rendered inoperable, but not all of it, not enough of it. They didn't have time to destroy the ammunition. They didn't have time to destroy all of the small arms. So, yeah, they got a lot of our stuff.
The only reason I bring that up is because between like the 5 other events plus everything else the CIA and the FBI have done, we've basically spent enough money to arm other countries like 10 times over.
Yeah, I was going to say a few times over at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people wonder where our tax dollars go. I'm just saying, like if you guys are okay with the fact that we have armed every cartel in the world, we've armed the Middle East, we've armed Africa, we are basically responsible for a lot of that.
Yeah. You know where our tax dollars go? they go into the NSA surveillance programs that happened after 9/11.
Yeah, don't you love those encroaching on our freedoms after that?
Oh, yes. Give me that encroachment, Daddy. Encroach on my freedom, Senpai.
Would you encroach on me?
I'd encroach on me.
Maybe that should be one of the shirts for the podcast. Encroach on me, Daddy.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So, following the attacks of September 11, the National Security Agency implemented widespread surveillance programs that collected a huge amount of data on Americans' phone calls, emails, and internet activity. Dear Lord, I hope they didn't see my browser history back then. These programs were revealed by Edward Snowden in 2013, raising concerns about privacy and civil liberties. Turns out the government apparently needs a little bit of consent to see what you're doing online. Thankfully. And also think incognito mode.
Yeah, right. So the problem is that all stems from like the Patriot Act and other stuff where basically they said that
the Patriot Act was initially put out to only follow people that were persons of interest. However, they started to expand because it's like, oh, well, how do we know if this person's a person of interest if we don't follow them first?
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of dominoed out from there.
Well, it's also one of those things where they were giving judges just lists of people to grant warrants on to spy on. And they were never researching it. They were never talking about it. It was just kind of sign all these and we'll figure it out later.
Right. And let me touch on this real quick before it rabbits out of my head. The NSA and AT&T work hand in hand to the point where if you have an AT&T device, the NSA is 1,000% getting all of the data, phone call and text message data that you do because they have servers in each other's buildings. The NSA has openly, publicly, searchably, verifiably given awards to AT&T for their open willingness and complicit companionship in working with the NSA. That is Google verifiable. Pick your jaw
I'm switching my phone carrier. I'm switching.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, actually, there's only like two different networks most of the nation uses. So odds are you're either on AT&T or Verizon, basically, in terms of where the infrastructure, unfortunately.
Yeah. T-Mobile, thankfully, does not have their servers yeeted out by the NSA yet. It's only a matter of time.
Just when you think you're allowed some level of privacy, and then my dumbass has an AT&T number.
Yeah. So if you use text, anything that is like RCS with that little encryption lock, that's fine. Yeah. Straight SMS, MMS, not safe. WhatsApp, great app to use to text. It is end-to-end encrypted. The NSA claims that it's safe, but I'm pretty sure they can get into it. But it does offer at least some level of basic protection. That's my rabbit hole.
I don't like it. I just, what gets me, I think, every single time is the fact that you are always presumed guilty. That your identity and data
used to
is never
be
protected.
Innocent until proven guilty. Many years ago, that mindset switched over to guilty until proven innocent.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah.
Those programs were expanded a lot under him. And don't get me wrong, Bush is also responsible as well for Patriot Act. Mm-hmm. But really under Obama, that's one of the reasons why Snowden... Cheney's kind of the hidden maestro there.
Cheney was the Palpatine to that administration. We all know
I never thought about the Palpatine connection before, but yeah. I could picture him saying, "Do it," as he shot somebody with a shotgun while he was hunting. That makes sense.
He didn't shoot Fourth Lightning. He shot 4 shotgun shells.
Yeah. Weird. Palpatine has buckshot. Interesting upgrade. But it is amazing. So if anybody that's looked into Snowden, I actually back in college did a couple of big reports on Snowden because I really liked the fact that he was a whistleblower and he was coming forward with a lot of information. What is scary is the level of information the NSA was able to collect from people without obtaining any sort of warrant, any sort of request, permission, consent, none of that. They were able to get anything as long as it wasn't artificially locked or behind anything. They are allowed to collect it at any amount, at any volume.
Mm-hmm.
So that means things like if your email isn't privately locked, if your Instagram, your Twitter, any social media, anything you put out digitally, even stuff that's on your physical devices, if it's not like locked, they were allowed to have access to it and keep it for records. So guess what? Anybody that's posted anything questionable online ever, if you've done anything like that, they're allowed to keep it, which is the insane part. There's no restrictions on what they're allowed to keep or not have.
I feel bad for the agents assigned to me. Their mental health bills are so high.
Honestly, they probably stopped following you because they're just losing. That's the problem. They got to pay the agents and the therapists with them and the trauma experts. Like, you would cost the U.S. government like $300,000 a year.
Oh, I aim to please and shoot for the face.
Oh, God. I just want to hear an NSA agent just have to say, not another chocolate starfish. Why? Why? There's so many. It's like that episode from Ted 2, or sorry, the first Ted. There's so much porn. It's except with you, it'd be ice cream cones.
Yep.
And for those listening, you'll learn the reference at some point. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah, eventually.
So then, from there, I wanted to bring about what I would have to say is probably one of the worst.
The most egregious.
Yes, one of the most egregious things the U.S. government has ever done. Now, there is a bit of a primer here. Yes, I know this is fresh in a lot of people's minds. We are going to talk about what happened with COVID. We are going to talk about some of the details there.
Also, the reason we will never get any kind of monetization ever.
Well, here's the thing. I have data. I have links. I literally have, you can see in the chat, I have links to articles and things. Everything I'm saying is verifiable and proven until I say it is my opinion.
Yes.
And I'm being very specific here. Now, for this first part, I'm just going to say a little bit of my opinion, then we'll go into some of the facts. So as everyone knows, we just came out of COVID. It's now 2025.
COVID was 5 years ago. Let that sink in.
Almost 5 years ago. It was March 15th.
Well, it's COVID-19, so it hit in 2019, right?
Very funny. But technically in China, they did start seeing it back in October, November,
I will
December,
say,
November, December.
My youngest was sick with all the COVID symptoms, but we did not have official COVID in the U.S. in November of 2019.
Well, that's because the leak happened back in October.
Yeah. Well,
But
March is what they're saying. Blood samples
now
that
they're
were
going
collected.
back to March?
They had blood samples that were collected and stored all through the year. They found COVID in blood samples as far back as March of 2019 in the U.S.
Jeez. Okay, so that had been. But we'll talk about whether it was a leak or a planned thing coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the facts as we know them. So it was gain-of-function research that was performed at the Wuhan Coronavirus and Virology Laboratory in Wuhan, China. Now, in America, I don't know if people know this, but yes, in America, it is illegal to fund gain-of-function research. Now, gain-of-function research basically says, hey, there's a virus that can do this. Let's give it a function to either add, it can either become maybe more infectious, or it has this as a symptom, or it can move from this to that, or it can go from maybe plants to this to that, or maybe to an animal, to a human, to whatever. The idea is it gives it something extra.
If you've ever played the app Plague Incorporated,
yeah,
it's literally just them playing Plague Inc. with real life viruses.
Yes, and that is illegal not only is it legal in America, but you cannot use federal funding. This is the important part. You cannot use federal funding to fund gain-of-function research.
So that's where
Now,
all
what-
the intercepted drug money goes.
Yes. Not all, some. A bit of it. Anyways, so that money, Tony Fauci was kind of directly responsible for as our head virologist, our head doctor, that is paid for. By the way, he gets paid more than the president. He is the highest position of any federal office besides the president in terms of financial responsibility. And he's our head medical advisor. Now, he approved and gave the money to a group called EcoHealth Alliance that then gave that money to the Wuhan Coronavirus Virology Lab. So therefore, they were able to say, well, no, we weren't funding it. No, he lied on live TV. He lied several times. It was funded by the U.S. Now, did they take other money as well as from the U.S.? Yes, but we funded that.
Right.
Now, one of the problems we have here is that for years, all of us were told, no, it was not an engineered virus. It is. No, it got out naturally. It was already out there. No, it wasn't. This was a human engineered thing, and it got out. Now, I'm not going to speculate whether it was planned to get out or whether it was an accident. I'm assuming it was an accident, but who knows at this point. Why? Well, it's very interesting that Tony Fauci, also, who has a very high stake in companies like Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer, they already had a vaccine they were developing for the coronavirus. That is why Trump put in Operation Warp Speed, and that's why that was approved, and that got moved forward to where then we then had a vaccine. But what's weird is, yeah, I know. Well, we're going to get to that in a second. I'm just going to cover factually before we get to the other stuff.
I know.
So then this new vaccine, 2 of the 3 brands were using mRNA-based vaccine. The idea was to be able to change you genetically or to alter genes so that you can more effectively fight the virus. Now, traditionally vaccines are basically more like immunotherapy, where the idea is we give you a small amount of the virus. Your immune system recognizes it, learns how to fight it, and then it can deal with it more effectively. There's obviously no vaccine that makes you immune, but it just helps to mitigate the symptoms and help you treat it. This was something new to where it was going to alter you at a much deeper level. Therefore, you could just fight it more naturally, but that also means altering you almost like in a chemical way rather than letting your body do it naturally and learn.
It's chemical gene therapy.
Yes. So, here is the problem. The U.S. government, mind you, this is Joe Biden and everyone else, they all said you should take the vaccine and it's safe to do so. It's safe and effective. Here is my problem, and this is one of the things we really want to highlight here. The government told you this is safe and effective to take it. However, unfortunately, the data shows maybe not
so much.
Not for everybody. This is the biggest problem, and anybody in medicine that tells you this, they are wrong, and I am sorry. I know I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical license. This is not medical advice. My personal opinion, if any medical professional ever tells you that, oh yeah, the same thing works for everybody all the time, 100%, they're wrong. They are wrong every single time. Why? Because this data alone, not to mention with everything else, shows that you have to treat people as individuals, and not everything is best for everybody in all cases. Unfortunately, we had forced people under the threat of losing their jobs, under threat of losing, some cases, their careers, to take these vaccines. Now, for the people that chose, again, I know many people that chose. I know many people that were forced to. I know many people that didn't. I have no qualms whether you did or didn't. I'm not pro, I'm not against, whatever. You do what's best for you under your medical advice for your doctor. That I will always say no matter what. But the issue we have is, according to VAERS, mind you, this is according to the WHO website or the UN website that I'm both pulling from, as well as the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Myocarditis is more likely to occur after any of the dosage. And the number of myocarditis reports, myocarditis meaning basically heart palpitation fluctuations, heart issues, cardiovascular issues. The vaccination basically gave it a 2,230 times higher than the average for all vaccines, with myocarditis being an effect. That is insane. And that is something that people were told. This is safe, this is effective, it won't hurt you. Individuals under 30 years old are more likely to develop myocarditis than those over 30. 50% of the cases occurred in youths. 70% occurred in males, so there are a lot of young men that were really affected by this. 76% of cases required emergency care and hospitalization, and 3% of the time it resulted in death so far.
Yeah. And people have been pointing out we've seen a lot of young athletes, healthy athletes dropping dead because of heart issues over the past 4 years.
This is something that affected my family because we have a very close family friend. Her fiance, they were going to get married soon when this happened. He took it, mind you, against what his doctor had said because he had heart issues. He died 3 days later just out of nowhere. He took it, went home, wasn't feeling good, having heart palpitations, went to the hospital, died. Done. And I'm not saying that was 100% the vaccine. Not at all. What I'm saying is when people have layers and layers of other health issues that might be known or unknown, when you're adding in another variable like that, that gets really risky. It gets really tricky. It gets hard to understand. And the problem is if you do not understand and study this stuff and just tell everybody it's safe when it's not, it causes issues. Look at the Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah.
Look at any of the times that the U.S. government has experimented on people. And mind you, everything we've talked about tonight is confirmed. This is why we wanted to bring up this episode of really, really, really understand that the government does lie to you all the time. And this is just the stuff that we can talk about. Like, for example, for COVID, according to the WHO, well over 7 million people have died directly from it, but actually the UN reports almost 15 million. All because a couple of people and a few scientists wanted to study gain-of-function research. Because they didn't have limits. They did not do it safely. Because if they did it safely, it wouldn't have got out. They did it in the middle of a city of what, 5 or 10 million people? Are you stupid? Are you kidding me? No. These are the kind of problems that happen when you let government run these kind of things.
Right.
Especially not for nothing. They're letting the Chinese government run that.
Right. Now, one of, and probably my favorite tinfoil hat explanation on the whole cause of COVID, it was intended to attack the elderly because of the aging population in China, the overcrowding in their healthcare facilities. Totally justifiably able to make that connection in my head. I can totally see them engineering the virus to only get people that were already compromised to a point because it was largely a respiratory type virus.
Absolutely.
And taking out the people that required that type of care. Because, I mean, what's their population now? Almost 2 billion? We just hit 8 billion people on the earth the other day. Congratulations, India.
Yeah, I know. They're putting in some work.
But yeah, when you've got overcrowding and shit going on like that, you've got a certain number of people that are already, health compromised. I can understand and see something like that happening. Does that justify it? Fuck no, it doesn't. No. But I can see them kind of leaning that way because it's China.
Oh yeah, the citizens have no rights there.
They're not exactly known for human rights support. I mean, the videos of them welding people into the buildings during lockdown, holy shit.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up, is they were not only welding people, but there were videos of aid workers just picking up dead bodies off the streets. People were jumping off of balconies and off of rooftops because their doors were welded shut or forced shut, or they had police standing around with rifles. Basically said, hey, if you go outside, you will be shot.
Oh, dude, the China lockdowns they were insane. The few videos that did get out. Ooh.
And the problem is we'll never know to the true extent of what happened in China. Because it's all been hush-hush, it's all been covered up. What is insane is I saw somebody do a breakdown of one of the crematoriums that were outside of Wuhan. They calculated that it was well in excess of a few 100,000 people that died just in Wuhan because of the amount of bodies they could fit per hour and then how long they were running for. And that was just in, mind you, in the first 6 months of the year.
Wow.
When COVID was around. So, and also I will admit, because I kind of peruse the internet a lot, I saw stuff back in December, January about China before COVID officially was announced in the US about things being weird there.
Yeah.
So we'll never know. That's the sad part is we'll never know the true extent of the human rights violations there. We will never understand exactly what happened, but we know what happened here. And well, we know what the U.S. government said.
Right. Well, we've also got cases like in New York where they were hoarding old people into those facilities
So it was an elderly facility.
Uh-huh.
And they decided that the best thing to do was to put COVID patients in there because they needed beds and places to put them. That over 70,000 elderly people died in New York State because that happened. And nobody got arrested.
Yeah.
Nobody got tried. They said, oh, yeah, that's the best thing we could do. They had a ship. What was it, like the Liberty ship or Liberty or something? I forget the name of it. That was from the military.
Oh, yeah, the
hospital ship. Yeah, that they were going to use for overflow. They never used it.
Yeah.
Instead, they just stuffed them all with the elderly. It, again, maybe I take this a little more personally because I've always taken care of my family, but like the amount of elderly care centers, even locally to where I'm at, that were negatively affected by them putting in COVID patients, even younger people that were relatively healthy, and the amount of elderly people that died because of that, because of the lack of care, not to mention if you even want to talk about the fact that they said ventilators was the appropriate fix for that, which we know is not the case. You already have people with elderly lungs that are barely able to get oxygen. Instead of putting on an oxygen mask, you put on a ventilator that then forces and stresses the lungs, and then they die from a lung collapse, and you wonder why. No, duh. But anyways, I digress. That's all my opinion in there, but I think we can use logic to determine that clearly was not the best case of action. Clearly, the U.S. government, whether knowingly or unknowingly, whether people wanted to admit it or not, they had lied about the situation with COVID. They had lied about why it existed. They had lied about where it came from, how it got to the U.S., and how it was going to affect people. And unfortunately, all of this was due to what? To be able to give money to these companies that, mind you, we all paid for it. As U.S. citizens, we paid for the entire development, production, and distribution of the vaccines.
And
we didn't see
the
a dime.
treatment eventually.
Yeah, in the treatment. We didn't see a dime back, by the way.
Nope.
We do not own the rights to those. We own nothing. Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer, they still own the entire rights to those, even though we paid for them, which is the other problem here.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my rebate check from the bailout.
I know.
The big bank bailout, right?
Good luck on that one. So, it just, I guess it baffles my mind that people will trust the government when the U.S. government, mind you, with other governments, is the reason why the pandemic happened in the first place. 100%. And the sad part is, if they had just been more responsible, it never would have happened in the first place. They are studying viruses and gain of function in the middle of major cities. And if you want to get freaked out, look at virology centers across the world. You'll see dozens. They're always in major cities. Why? Because it's convenient.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Because they want to cut costs. Rather than say, hey, maybe you should study this out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of a desert, in the middle of Antarctica, or in the North Pole, somewhere where if something happens, you can't harm other people. No, we'd rather just, because we're doctors, because we're academics, we just want to step off a plane and arrive where we need to be. Right in the middle of a big city in front of everybody.
This is the kind of shit you do in Area 51.
Yeah. Or just don't do it all. Like, not to be a jerk, but sure, yes, maybe doing that research could help create a vaccine. But here's the other thing. You wouldn't need the vaccine if you didn't create the virus. It's the chicken before the egg problem.
Okay, devil's advocate time. If we don't do it, somebody else will. And then they'll have all the cards.
Okay, fair enough. But then do it in a facility where at least if something goes wrong, it's only those people doing it.
Right.
The biggest thing I feel bad for is imagine if you're just like an average Chinese citizen, someone that barely has any rights, barely has anything, just scraping by, and you happen to live in Wuhan. And then your world gets turned upside down because some schmuck in America wants to make a ton of money?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? No. That's the part that gets me, is at the end of the day, the government defended itself. Tony Fauci lied. I want to say Dazik for Equal Health Alliance lied, and so many other politicians covered for them. And at the end of the day, the people that were most affected were you and I.
Yeah.
The average everyday people, because the world's never been the same since COVID.
Oh, no.
It's changed everything.
We have a whole episode lined up on that entire topic, in fact. But
Oh, yeah.
no one has been held accountable. No one has gone to jail because the rich and powerful don't go to jail. And if someone who is rich and powerful does go to jail, they definitely don't kill themselves while they're in jail.
No, not at all. No.
You know,
No.
the fact that, you know, a rich and powerful guy happened to magically kill himself while he was on suicide watch back in.
He just took a really hard nap.
Yeah.
He just.
That happened back in 2019. You realize that?
That's insane that the Epstein thing happened. Then we went straight into COVID and it just kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly COVID could have been a cover up for the Epstein shit. There is that conspiracy.
That imagine justifying sacrificing almost 15 million people to cover up the fact that you were diddling kids.
Right.
God,
or how many people were diddling kids on his island?
How many?
Yeah. Well, we don't know because we still don't have his client list yet.
Because the government's too afraid to release it.
I hope
didn't the
Trump
judge-
or Daddy Musk lets it out.
Well, didn't the judge even say that they were scared of public backlash and outcry if they did release it?
Yeah.
Which is more the reason to release it.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, because of Luigi, they'll never release it.
Right.
As much as again, we covered this in the last podcast, I don't approve, but I understand. Just disclaimer there.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Luigi, they're definitely not going to release it now.
Probably not.
It's crazy what an Italian plumber can do.
Yeah. And now him and Diddy are in the same jail.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I mean, Diddy can just slip out of the bars with how much baby oil he's got in his system. So, yeah, there's going to be an escape.
Baby oil. There had to have been drugs or something in it. There's no way it was just baby oil.
Well, hey, when you're diddling that many kids.
Well, not only that, but like how much? Like think about this, right? If you're getting like how many bottles was it? Was that
No, it
1,000
was
or
a
100?
lot.
It was. Let's just round it off and say 100 bottles.
Okay.
I'm
Let's
assuming
say
you're getting
1,000. It was a lot.
Okay, let's say it's a one with a bunch of zeros.
Okay.
So if you're getting that many, if you have that many at the house, that means how many are you going through per month? Do you get like a shipment? Do you buy crates? And if so, does he hire somebody just to do inventory on the fucking
Probably.
bottles?
Side note, I just had a mental image. Can you imagine a baby or a swimming pool full of baby oil?
Wouldn't you drown in that?
I don't know. I don't understand the physics of that well enough.
That is a kink I am not prepared for. This man.
Swim in a
This
gimp
man-
suit.
No. Maybe this man got his first erection around baby oil or something. Maybe just something happened where it's linked now. You know, psychologically.
Probably.
Like, you know those people that develop kinks because that's like their quote unquote sexual awakening and they're suddenly with that for the rest of their lives?
Oh, yeah.
I heard something happened with him in baby oil.
Yeah, baby oil and feet. I don't know. Ugh.
Not feet. No.
No. Feet
No.
people are so weird.
Isn't there like that study though that basically shows like the same area of the brain?
Yes, it's just
That's
a
feet
crossing
has, like,
of wires in the brain.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I'll like if you're a feet person, good for yourself, but keep it to yourself.
Right.
I don't want to be involved.
No.
Especially involves baby oil too.
Feet covered in baby oil.
Oh no.
Now we're going down the rabbit hole.
Oh no.
Oh.
But between all of these things with the government, and we're not even getting into things like the recent drone problems.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
not getting seriously into the food, not getting to all these other things. It goes to show that you really, really, really need to be careful.
Yeah.
With anything. And I genuinely mean this, anything. Any official government, mainstream media, anybody from the military, CIA, FBI, any of them. Because we're not even getting into more of the conspiracy theory stuff like how the CIA and the FBI had people at January 6th.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of other stuff, especially what's happening now with the Cybertruck thing with the bombing there and what
Mhm.
happened down in New Orleans. And it's getting a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of that even could be tied into the whole they're trying to keep Biden in office and keep Trump out of office by instigating a national emergency type of event.
Yeah, but no one's going to buy that.
Well, they won't until they do.
I mean, but what are they just going to try to institute martial law?
More or less. That's the suggestion. Because
I
that's the
don't
only way it
think they're
happens.
But I don't think they'll get away with that. I think a lot of us are just so done with it.
Probably.
We just would not put up with it. No way.
Yeah.
I'm going to limit my comments to say I would not put up with it.
Yeah.
That is for legal reasons. That is all I will say.
Yeah. But let me just briefly touch on some of the other stuff that we were hoping to kind of go on. Otherwise, this will turn into a 2-hour episode. We have various levels of involvement in foreign government operations. The fact that we have overthrown democratically elected officials in other governments, we essentially allowed Saddam Hussein to come into power. Like we made that happen. And then 20 years later, we had to go in and kick his ass out. The Assad regime, I'm pretty sure we helped pave the way for that.
Yep, yes, we did.
There's another one. I can't remember if it was a Gaddafi or if it was
Muammar Gaddafi,
or if it was the Ayatollah. One of those two. No, it was
Muammar Gaddafi. We actually
I knew it was one of those guys.
He was a CIA CIA involvement.
Yeah,
not like an operative like trained, but like he was involved.
Yeah,
that's why he took over. Then we saw he went friggin' bananas.
Yeah, banana. The mandating.
Same thing with what was it, on ISIS or something like that? They started from the remnants of Al Qaeda.
Yeah,
and we also funded them as well because we originally used them to try to overthrow Al Qaeda.
Yeah, good times. The mandating of experimental medicine during a global pandemic. We have already kind of talked about that. The fact that pandemic brought out the vaccine so rapidly, it was still experimental. It was not a true vaccine. It was a therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
So
when it was immunotherapy, there's difference.
Yeah. When they kept calling it a vaccine, that pissed me off. A vaccine is supposed to prevent the disease or the sickness or the illness. Everybody still got sick. And they're like, oh, yeah, I just got my vaccine three months ago and I still got sick. No, that's not how a vaccine works. The measles, the mumps, polio, all that shit. We're vaccinated against that. How often do you see people get that shit nowadays? You don't. That's a vaccine. The COVID therapeutic maybe helped relieve the symptoms and made them not so bad. Okay, cool. I'm still not taking that shit.
I don't blame you.
But mandating experimental preventative measures like face masks, there was data showing the COVID virus was small enough to get through the openings in the face masks unless it was the N95 face mask, which even though people were wearing those, they were wearing them improperly. You cannot have facial hair if you're wearing an N95 mask. I had a goatee during that time. I didn't have the full beard. I barely ever wore a face mask because I knew the science. So I'm not going to shave my face just to put on a stupid mask that's barely going to do anything for the time I'm going to wear it. So the experimental measures like the face masks to prevent the spread of a virus when their own internal information showed they were only marginally effective at best. And all of that came to light. And who has been punished? Absolutely nobody. As Gibbs was saying, we have the recent events with the drones and the lack of available information from the government and other people who have been tasked with keeping the airspace above our country safe, keep swaying public opinion away from any kind of trust in those same agencies. If we have something in our skies, okay, fine, tell us. Tell us what it is, or at least tell us what it isn't. If they're ours, for fuck's sake, say so. If they're not ours, tell us what's going to be done about them. I think we as the citizens are owed that much.
Well, of course. Not only that, but as a citizen, you own the right to the airspace around and above your house, above your property.
Yeah.
And if somebody was operating a drone over my airspace, I I have the means to take it down.
Yeah, you and a lot of other people, because citizens began taking some measures into their own hands with firearms, some with fireworks, to remove some of those drones from the airspace above their homes and neighborhoods. Those situations could have escalated to be a lot worse because some people forget the physics of what goes up must come down. So, yeah.
And not only that, people forget that this is a big country. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of areas to where if you fly these drones, some people have zero qualms loading up their rifles and taking it the hell down.
Mm-hmm.
And to hell with wherever those bullets land. You're absolutely right. Not only that, but do they know the amount of fear and panic they're causing in people? The amount of worry that's causing people. I've watched videos of people crashing their cars on the highway because they see one of the drones and they're trying to film it while they're driving. They hit a pole.
Yeah, well,
they hit another car.
To be fair, that is the idiocy level of the drivers.
Yes, but if all they had to do is make a simple announcement being like, hey, we're just doing military exercises. Sorry, we can't be more deliberate, but this is to protect against terrorism or China or other stuff or whatever. Cool. It would alleviate a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is, all we see is skepticism online, and all we can do is guess. And that's the sad part. I do want to do a separate episode on the drones because
Yes.
I've found a lot of other information. I think you have too.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot we want to debate on that. But it is incredible that we can have drones violate several, if not all, of our locked airspace, and it's okay if they do it.
Yeah.
There are airports that have had to reroute flights. Some places shut down. They've had them violating military airspaces, and yet nothing's being done, nothing's said, nothing's questioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that drone issue shows how vulnerable the skies over our country really are, be it from a foreign threat, be it from an actual non-planetary threat. I mean, just imagine if those drones weren't friendly. Imagine if those drones were armed. Imagine if they were trying to do harm.
See, unfortunately, we're not a country like Israel that has the Iron Dome where anywhere in their country, if you fly over it, you're already targeted and locked and they can take you the hell down.
Yeah.
Whereas we are so big. This country is huge and there's so many areas of vast wilderness with nothing out there that it's damn near impossible.
Right.
To have eyes on everything and have defenses prepared. And unfortunately, we have so many military assets that are non-domestic, that if something were to happen domestically, do we have resources? Yes, but not nearly what we have across the rest of the planet, which is in a lot of ways sad.
Yeah. No, I mean, just think, I mean, have you seen like the drone swarms that China uses just for like drone shows?
Yeah, watch one that had like several thousand.
Yeah. Imagine one of those over a major U.S. city armed with like a kilogram of C4.
Oh, yeah.
You really wouldn't need a whole lot more than that.
Put it this way, you could take out all the bridges coming in and out of New York City within a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And they're locked. Manhattan's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that episode of that Batman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where they lock it down, it goes crazy.
Yeah.
Bane one, third one.
Yes.
They could do that in a matter of minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, what's happening over in Ukraine, as we're seeing drones are
being utilized quite effectively.
Yeah, and they even have like paper drones that cost them like pennies on the dollar.
Well, 3D printed drones
to
too.
Assemble them. Yeah, they're scary effective. They are becoming pound for pound, dollar for dollar, one of the most effective military, I guess, technologies we've had in the last 100 years.
Yeah,
it's insane. They're removing $10 million assets with like a $50 drone and $200 worth of explosives. That's incredible value.
Yeah.
If there was a stock for Ukrainian drones, I would invest in that shit hardcore.
Oh yeah,
I'd make so much money. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, not only the drones, but our own food is killing us, or bare minimum poisoning us.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of industrial chemicals and toxins that are in our food and that continue to be allowed in. Holy shit. RFK, please come and save us. I was kind of on the fence about him because, brainworm, but honestly, I'm kind of excited to see him get into position and see what he does. Because all the shit that's in our food It's atrocious. People wonder
Absolutely.
why so much of our food is banned in other countries. It's killing us.
Yeah.
There are literal industrial cleaning agents in our food. Titanium dioxide is probably one of my favorite ones to think about. It's the white color in like Pop-Tarts. That's like an industrial degreaser.
Oh, there's some great ones out there that should never
Yeah.
be in our food.
Right.
And the sad part is when you look at, and I think a lot of people misunderstand it, but there's a lot of seed oils, soybean oils, stuff like that that are completely unnecessary in a lot of our products. There's a lot of extra fattening, extra calories, extra sugar, but also the red dyes and other chemicals that are known in other countries to be carcinogenic or even possibly have links to causing other child diseases.
Those are
Now,
all
the
banned
problem
in
is-
other countries.
Yeah, if anybody wants to have the experiment, look up. My favorite one is Quaker's oatmeal. They sell it in both in Germany and in England, and they sell it in America. Look at the ingredient difference between two. The American one has like 40 something. The European one has like 11. And of those 11, there's like 6 of them that are actual ingredients.
Mhm.
How are these companies able to justify putting in more stuff, charging us more, when they sell the same thing over in Europe and it's cheaper and has fewer stuff in it? What is the game plan there? How is it more profitable? How? No, we should not allow that. Absolutely not.
And I mean, as far as food is concerned, our favorite food pyramid, that was a lie and
Yes.
used as a propaganda machine by the Department of Agriculture after the FDA was warned that it would cause an epidemic of obesity. Guess what happened?
Well,
Hel-
you know why that food pyramid was put in, right?
to help prop up farms.
Yes. The idea was that after World War II, the American farmers, they were concerned they weren't going to be able to survive and afford. So they said, well, we'll just have people tell people to eat bread 3 times a day.
Mhm.
And then we'll make the bread full of crap. And oh yeah, then all the big companies will buy up the farmland. So then they can make it even cheaper. So that Americans could just have more bread. And oh yes, make meat like one of the least eaten options. Because that makes sense.
Right.
No.
Something that's
It
been a
was the-
staple of our diet for 150,000 years
Oh yeah.
suddenly is bad for us.
Well, that's why in America, I feel like a lot of people harp on Americans for being unhealthy when people that aren't in the country that don't understand, there are many places where it's hard to eat healthy, or sometimes it's almost unaffordable to eat healthy because of this system.
Okay. A pre-made salad or a pre-made fruit cup
Mhm.
is like $8 at the store.
Mhm.
But I can get a double cheeseburger for like $2.50. Okay?
Mhm.
That's one of the problems. If you tell me
Oh, yeah.
that double cheeseburger is so unhealthy for me, why can I buy 3 of them for the same price as a salad that's leaves?
Yeah.
Why are
ideally,
leaves $8?
Ideally, the salad should be cheaper because you
Salad
actually
should
have
be
to
almost
grow the
free.
beef. Well,
Almost free.
It's well, I guess the point is if you look at the way food is made and grown, because of how America is, unfortunately, the healthy foods are becoming almost a luxury item,
Uh-huh.
especially getting things without added sugar, added preservatives. In order to so my girlfriend and I, we've been trying to actually cook more. We've been going so far as to we buy just potatoes and we make our own French fries. We make our own potato chips. We're doing a lot of things because I want to lose weight and get in better shape. And she's been killing it and losing a lot of weight and getting in shape, and she's been incredible. And what we're noticing is by we have to make the steps to make everything ourselves.
Mhm.
It's so much more time consuming. But holy crap,
Big difference.
it's incredible. I can eat 3 times the amount of potatoes and still have half the calories
Uh-huh.
because we just air fry it.
Yep.
And I don't add sugars. I don't add any extra crap. Nothing. It's if you eat just the regular food, I know it's miraculous, but it's somehow better for you without the chemicals. But getting it in places without chemicals, you can't just buy prepackaged, pre-sliced, French fries. You can't. They always have added sugars and chemicals and other crap.
Right.
I have looked, I have tried, because I'll be honest, I'm a lazy American. I don't want to sit there and actually have to make the French fries myself. If I pay the extra buck and have them made for me, cool. Now, they always add the chemicals and sugar every time. Every time without fail. And the reason why I get pissed off about this is because I spent like 4 hours looking. I have been to every grocery store I can in the area. We spent like 6 hours the other day because we had some shopping to do anyway. So it's not like I spent 6 hours just looking for French fries. But I couldn't find any. So we decided to make them. So now I have to buy a special thing to make the French fries and do them. But guess what? That's the level I have to resort to in this country to just get French fries. That's it. That's insane.
I'm gonna start calling you Julia Childs now.
Oh God. I feel like with the way I look, I feel like what's that lady that suddenly just puts butter on everything?
Paula Deen.
Yeah, I feel like Paula Deen is my spirit animal. I really feel like because I am not a small lad, so I'm husky, but I'm a big guy, and I like food. Thick, yeah, thick boy, he's thick. But I guess that is like my personal vendetta. We always laugh about the French fry problem because no matter where you go,
no,
you can't get anything clean.
You cannot get anything frozen, pre-made without being pre-laced with all sorts of shit.
The only place I found that is considered fast food or quick food that gives you something that's clean protein is Chick-fil-A has a grilled like chicken nugget. You get it grilled. But the chicken nuggets, it's literally just the chicken on the grill. They don't add anything else. And the macros on it and protein is great. So, but mind you, that is out of every single fast food chain. In America, we are the Olympics of fast food chains.
Oh, yeah.
We take this shit seriously.
Right.
Out of every one of them.
I've been told Chipotle is not horrible.
Yeah.
If you stay away from like their pre-mix things. But like the rice isn't all that bad. The black beans, the cheese, the queso or whatever, the meat. I mean, meat is meat.
Well, you say that.
Okay, yeah, 3D printed meat, lab grown meat. That's all a thing now.
I know. Well, not only that, but they're also doing the cockroach meat and stuff like that.
Oh God.
Yep. That's becoming a thing, by the way. We're gonna be doing a food episode at some point. I'm well versed in the food stuff just because my girlfriend and I are into look at the stuff. But yeah, that's gonna be a thing coming very soon. Is they're gonna start using processed insect meat and selling it as like the non-animal or non-beef alternative kind of thing. And a lot of people just kind of keep saying, "Oh yeah, why don't we switch to insects? They make so much more sense to grow and they're so much easier." No,
I'm not eating bugs.
No, I will not eat the bugs.
Nope.
No,
I think I would probably eat a person before I eat bugs.
The
look on your face.
I didn't want to have this moral dilemma.
I mean, come on, Gibbs. A person or bugs? Tell me.
God, I don't. Okay. I can't argue against.
If you're listening to this, a person or bugs? If it came down to it, what are you eating?
Depends on the person. Well, you know what though? I think I will say, because I know it's a little bit of a segue. Tonight's been the night of segues. Mm-hmm. We should get sponsored by them.
Right.
But you know what? Here's a segue to the segue. Those are cheap now, by the way. Yeah. You can get them for like $500.
Oh yeah.
I thought about getting one, but then I realized I have no point in getting one, so I didn't. But I really wanted to, just to have one. Maybe one day. Maybe that's what we'll do. If the podcast goes really well, we go somewhere else, we will have our matching segues.
Oh yes.
That will be the segue to our segues. But anyways. So I know in America we've had the issue where there's large parts of, especially the Midwest, where I know since you've kind of been through the Midwest a little bit, you've done some traveling like I have. Mm-hmm. Do you remember years ago when you used to drive through out there and you'd have bugs all over your vehicle?
Oh yeah.
Now when you drive through, it's almost nothing. There's large parts of the country where they see 50, 60, even 70% reductions in the overall bug population.
Yeah. Spraying's been a hell of a thing.
and we have an overcrowding of people. So I hate to use logic to answer that question, but meat's back on the menu, boys. I have to tell you, I think that's one for people and zero for the bugs. If anything, we should grow the bugs just to release them back in the wild.
Right.
If anything.
I mean,
But yes, to go back.
does it bother you to know that I keep the human select cut menu on my phone for an emergency?
I'm getting a hotel next time I visit you. I'm not spending the night. Because I understand I have a good fat to meat ratio where I might be tasty. I don't like that thought.
I'm guessing you're probably well marbled, you know.
Well marbled. That's a nice way of saying I'm fat. It's what. Oh, you literally have that.
Check your phone. I just sent it to you. I'll put it up in the Discord after the episode is posted so that, people can see that. But yes, I keep that on my phone just in case of an emergency. By the way, speaking of Discord, all of our socials are now up and live. We have the Discord. We have the YouTubes. We have the Instagram. The Facebook page is now live, and the TikTok.
Yes. So feel free to reach out to us at any one of those. I will say probably the one that we look at the most would be Discord.
Discord and Facebook will be the two that are probably looked at the most.
Yeah, and if you reach out on TikTok, that'll be more on me, just because I use TikTok because I'm a degenerate. So we can get back to you guys, but definitely, I really recommend people join the Discord if you have that.
Absolutely, it's going to be a good time there.
We have a lot of stuff down on the pipeline for all of our socials and Discord and everything. Can't wait for that. But yeah, I think at this point we probably talked about everything tonight that we wanted to for the kind of the overall topic of why you cannot trust the government and that the government's always lying to you.
Yeah, also, something that we didn't touch on. You remember the Waco incident?
There's a special episode I want to do on the ATF. And
the agency that should not exist.
I feel very strongly about them, and I don't want to say anything illegal. So
free speech for now.
For now, I will say definitely we will be talking about the crimes of the ATF at some point.
Okay.
And however, I want to, for legal reasons, wait till after January 20th.
Okay, yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, there's a lot of things like that.
Vivek Ramaswamy did say in an interview that many agencies will be reduced and possibly eliminated once they're in office.
God, I hope it's the ATF.
I'm hoping that the ATF is on the chopping block.
Good, because they're useless.
Yeah. They cannot just legislate policy.
All they do is shoot people's dogs. That's all they do.
Jimmy, the ATF shot my fucking llama.
He's at the car pretty well there, too. That was pretty good. I didn't expect that. But yeah, I think today we've covered pretty well all the topics we wanted to. And just so everyone at home knows, this was kind of the one that we want to talk about with things that we could verifiably 100% prove and talk about.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a tinfoil, probably several tinfoil hats later down the road, where we want to use this as kind of a reference point, and then from here is where we start branching off into some of the more interesting conspiracies, interesting things that are a little bit less, obviously they're based in fact, but we're going to be making some assumptions and some leaps, and possibly some debates on that, because tonight we're both kind of in agreement on a lot of stuff. Whereas in the future, I know we got a couple of good debates coming up with some of the topics that I'm really excited for.
Be better than presidential debates.
Dude, I'm so sick of, I don't want to go on a rant about it because we've already been here forever, but like I'm just so sick of our intellectual idiots that are running the country.
Oh yes.
So done with it.
Oh yeah.
But all right. Just want to say now that we close this out, thank you everybody for listening. We really, really appreciate it. We've gotten a lot of great feedback and support over the last few episodes, and we're really looking forward to doing more going forward. We definitely would really recommend people to join us on social media, Discord, everywhere else. Reach out to us, give us topics, give us ideas, and we have a lot more stuff come down the pipeline. Anything you'd like to add there, Pip?
Just keep the feedback coming. Keep the ideas coming. Love talking to everybody. We're here doing this because we'd like to do it. But the more interaction we get with people, the more we're going to be driven to do more and do better. So keep it coming, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pip. Appreciate it. Thank you all for sticking around, and we will catch you on the next one.
Hell yeah. Have a good one, guys.